TMRS 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
Hi, everyone. Kenny Weiss here. Welcome to another edition of your Journey to Success podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Weiss. I am a life coach, speaker, and author of Your Journey to Success and founder of the Greatness Movement based here in Phoenix. The goal here each week is to create a movement of people who are passionate about wanting real answers. They want more than the superficial buzzwords that are so prevalent in this industry nowadays. They want to go deeper. They want to live in their greatness. So remember, hey, everybody, I see everyone's tuning in. And Laura, good to see you. Blair, thanks for the compliment. But remember, you can call me on Skype. And if you saw my Facebook video today, you can see I can cook. I did a live demonstration of how to make the world's best hollandaise. So we have one person who's entered into the drawing for me to make dinner at my house. Remember, if you call me on Skype, you can be entered as well. So it's really simple, whether you download Skype onto your phone or download it onto your computer. All you have to do is give me a call and just look for my name, Kenny Weiss. Whether you do a voice call or audio call, doesn't matter. Your face doesn't show up online, but you can ask me anything you like. The topic today, a viewer got in touch with me earlier this week, and they wanted to talk about why is it so hard to ask for help? And then even if we do ask for help, why is it so hard to follow it? So Linda, Julie, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. If any of you want to talk about something else, like I said, please, by all means, give me a call and so you can get yourself entered in to a chance for me to make dinner. Actually, after this morning, I was like, maybe it's not dinner. Maybe I should make breakfast so I could do a live demonstration too of how to make that hollandaise. The camera kind of blew up on me, so it got a little bit rattled. But it's really, if you can make great hollandaise, it goes a long way. So anyway, let's get started on the topic for today. And it really was a viewer who got in touch with me this week, and they just, I don't know that they were asking for them, honestly. I think they're noticing in their life that a lot of people are having a hard time asking for help. They aren't sure what to do with it. And, you know, when they have problems, they're feeling insecure or afraid to ask for that help. And so why is that? First of all, why do we all struggle asking for help? Well, there's a couple basic reasons. One is we want to protect our false persona. I mean, think of our whole culture in America, really worldwide. Everything's about projecting an image, right? You know, we all have to be perfect. We all have to be imperfect. We all have to be something. So if we ask for help, it's somehow a threat to, some people call it our ego, some people call it our self-esteem. You pick whatever topic you like. So, but we don't want to ask for help because somehow it means we're less than. All right. Now, there's many layers to this, and the other thing that I don't think people really get into is, as far as why it's hard to ask for help, is we were trained not to ask for help. Think of it as kids with our parents. If we didn't agree with something, or if there was something wrong in the way we were being raised, or we didn't agree with our parents, who could we ask help from? Our parents were supposed to be our help, right? So we got really conditioned from a young age, I'm screwed, I'm powerless. If I don't, I can't really go ask for help because the people who are there supposed to be helping me are perfectly imperfect and they're pissed off at me right now or whatever the reason is. So I really can't go to them. There's really no one I can ask for help. So yes, that's it, like Linda says here, it makes her feel incredibly vulnerable. And that's a shame. I see that's a perfect example of people are afraid to be vulnerable. And that breaks my heart because that's where the answer is. I talk about this all the time. Everyone is afraid to be vulnerable or afraid to do the work or afraid to look at their past or handle their demons because they're afraid of the pain they might experience if they were to look at it. And I sit there and I look at how much pain people are in avoiding being vulnerable, avoiding dealing with their childhood, avoiding dealing with their relationship issues, avoiding everything. See, pain is the avoidance. It's the you live in it day after day. Now, the reason people stay in it and don't ask for help and are afraid of being vulnerable, all these different things, is several reasons. One is you're so used to that pain, you don't really feel it. So when you consider being a little bit vulnerable or something, it just feels like a minor pain. You don't register it because your brain and body gets used to what it knows. And so people who are afraid on all these levels, they don't even recognize it. So that's why I always talk about, I walk down the street and I see how absolutely miserable everybody is. Everybody. Like, I mean, everybody. They don't even know because they're so detached from actually feeling their life. They don't recognize it. And well, that gets into many other things. But so one of the biggest reasons we don't ask for help is we can minimize it and deny and suppress it and go, well, I'm not that bad today. Not like yesterday, because it might feel a little better or a little worse, but we don't feel that we're in this massive pain. Everybody else sees it. Everybody else knows it, but we don't, because it's an incremental difference. We're too close to it. And the other thing is, then we project because of that, because it's just a minor difference that we notice when we think about performing any sort of change or getting help, because we know if we ask for help, they're going to give us some suggestions on how to get better. And so we project into that future of what that pain might look like if we were to change. We project, oh my God, that means I'm stupid. That must mean I'm an idiot because I've been living my life this way, and I'm going to have to admit that I've been making mistakes. So we project that that's going to be a terrible feeling, and that feels much worse than the pain we're already in. So we're projecting all of these things into a future way out here and making up what it looks like and what it means. We're ascribing definitions to it that we've never experienced. And they all look in our projection, we look and make them sound like these really awful things. And the truth is, none of that's true, but we don't know that. And because we're so used to the pain and misery we're already in, we don't really notice it. We minimize it in comparison to that. We go, screw it, I don't need help. Why do I need it? I'm just a little off today. Now, everyone else around us, like I said, I walk into a networking meeting, I walk in anywhere. And one, because of who I am, but two, because of what I do, everywhere. Everybody's in massive pain, dripping. Here's what I found. That is pain. All this working on the past and all these different things, that's just discomfort. Everyone has it backwards. They think this is pain. It's not. Living the life where you don't ask for help and you don't deal with what you're struggling with, that's massive pain. That's what I had to realize is it was horrific living that way. And everybody's stuck in that, but they're so used to that pain, they think it's normal. I know, before I got suicidal, like it took me to get suicidal before I could recognize how much pain. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I look back and I can see the incremental increase of pain that I wasn't even paying attention to, didn't even realize was growing and growing and growing. And all of a sudden I'm suicidal. And that I see all day, every day, everybody's up here in pain. They think they're down here, but they're so numb, they're so detached from themselves, just like I was, they don't even register. And so when they think about asking for help, they project that that's going to be real pain because they don't even recognize how much pain they're already in. So they're in massive, massive denial. That's why I did a show a month or so back. The biggest thing killing society is denial. Everybody's in massive denial of how much pain they're in and how much they struggle on a day-to-day basis. They don't even know. But it's painfully obvious to someone like me who makes a career in it and sees it all day, every day. And it's not that people are bad. It's we don't talk about this stuff. We don't have the tools, the information. They just don't even know what to compare their life to know what pain is or how miserable they are. So they're just unaware. You know, it's not a judgment of they're bad. Any of us are bad. We just don't have the skill set to be aware of how much pain we're in. And so we think it's just not that bad. So that's start with two of the main things to recap. One of the main things is parenting. We couldn't ask for help because the people who raised us were hurting us. Well, we get trained. I can't ask them. They're supposed to be the ones protecting me, yet I'm being hurt by them. So I'm screwed. So there's a built-in mechanism, a hesitation to ask for help from people because of the parenting we all suffered. I mean, we've all been through. Everyone says, "Oh, my parents were great." Baloney. They were perfectly imperfect. They love you dearly. They still love you dearly, but they were train wrecks at parenting you. They'd have to be. None of us take a single class, so we all screw up at it. I find it fascinating that everybody goes into denial and self-protection about their parenting skills and their parents' parenting skills about how perfect they were. I don't care what your job is, how many years have you trained to do it? And how often do you screw up on a daily basis? Countless times. Parenting, not a single one of us has taken a single class, and we think our parents are great. It's just hysterical to me. That shows you the massive amounts of denial everybody's in. It's so painfully obvious. Every parent would have to be would have to struggle because they have no training. Yet everybody's like, no, childhood was fine. That's all you need to know about why we're all in so much pain right there. That's classic, the textbook minimization, suppression, repression, and denial. And everybody's stuck in that. So again, it's not to judge, it's just fact. I mean, I'm an expert in all this stuff and I still suck at it. I still make tons of mistakes with my kids. So just like I would on any other job, it's what we all do. So it's something that if you want to get better, it's one of the places you have to start. You have to own, one, that you're probably not a very good parent, and two, that your parents weren't either, and it's okay. But that's the first place to start, is to do that. So that's one of the main reasons that keeps us from asking for help. The second reason is the projection we give to what it would look like, because we're in such denial. We're in so much, we're so numb and accustomed to our pain that we don't register it. And so we project into the future what possibility of asking for help or actually changing might look like. And we make up that that's worse than what we're already going through. So, so those are the first two things. Now I want to stop. I want to touch on some of these comments a little bit here. Hi, Marianne and Desma. Thanks for tuning in. Patty as well. Yes, Linda, pain brings a level of sustainability. That's another way of saying we stay in our pain because we know it. It's comfortable. I can sit there, people listening can sit here and go, yeah, I know there's some areas of my life, but you know the outcome. You know, if you're in a bad marriage or if you're in a bad relationship or a bad job or whatever it is, you can sit there and go, yeah, I should do something about it. But you won't get help. You won't do anything about it because you already know how that pain plays out. It's predictable. You've lived in it for a long time. It's sustainable, like she said. It's very sustainable. Hey, Marianne. And so that's why we stay there. And so since I know what this pain looks like, since I know, as Linda said, this pain is sustainable, I'm surviving it, and I don't know what I call discomfort. This is just discomfort. Dealing with our past and our pain is just discomfort. We project it as something worse. But since I don't know what this is, and I know what this looks like, I'll stay here. I'll play the victim, and I will sustain my misery by not asking for help. All right. Now, there's another thing going on here. I get tons of responses to my posts, tons of private messages, emails, phone calls, people asking for help, or at least they imply they're asking for help. Here's the other thing, as to most people don't want help. They don't want the answer. You can go through most of my posts and you'll see it. The second, with most people, I really don't offer much help, because if they wanted my help, they'd hire me. That's the truth. They'd hire me or they'd go to a group. But most people that reach out, hey, can you help me with this? What they want is they want me to join in their victimhood. They want to take my time and attention and get me to give it to them. But they have no interest in dealing with the problem. This happens all the time. I was sitting with someone I know very closely, and they're having a little struggle in their relationship. And this person's going on and on and on about her boyfriend. And I just listened and I just listened. And finally I said to her, are you looking for an answer or just someone to listen? She just said, I don't want an answer right now. And that's the truth for most people. She knows I'm an expert in all this, and I could literally tell her exactly what to do, but she's in denial. She doesn't want to, remember, she doesn't want to face her pain. The comfort, this relationship dynamic's been going on forever. It's a piece of cake. She's heard me speak on a similar topic. She already knows the answer. She just doesn't want to deal with it. She's in denial. And this I get all of the time, where I get people reaching out to me, wanting to tell me about the problems in their lives. And the second I offer a solution, they switch and change the problem into something else, so that the solution I just offered can't be right, because now here's the problem. I call it the roulette wheel. All right. So you ask questions. We all have this experience, right? You ask a friend questions about their problem and you get it narrowed down to black 15. And as soon as you get it narrowed down to black 15 on the roulette wheel and you go, well, just do this. They go, oh, no. That's not the problem. And they spin again and again and again and again. You get it narrowed down to red 22. And no. So people try and eat up my time all the time with that stuff. And I won't. I will just say things like, well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. But I will not abuse them, because it's abuse. See what they've done. This is another reason we're asking for help, but we're not asking for help. This is still part of the topic. People reach out pretending they want help, but they don't want it. What they want is to co-opt everybody into their victimhood, to get them to fix it for them and be more invested in the problem. Because look at all the power I have. Look at how much power I have over everybody if I don't take their solution. I get 1, 3, 5, 8, 10 friends all over Facebook. I saw a guy this weekend posted in a group, he's really struggling, wanted a handout. Well, then some people offered some help and he didn't take it. He wanted it a certain way. and he sucked. It was fascinating to me. I watched him suck all these people. It must have been 40, 50 different people responding. And he just sucked like a vacuum, sucking the souls out of them. See, we've been brought up in a culture that heavily, heavily, heavily rewards the victim. Think of it. If you're sick, you're hurt, your relationship is bad, government, whatever, we're always looking for a handout. And especially lately, government-wise, everyone wants the government to fix everything. I'm a victim, you have to fix it. Please, please, please fix my problem. It's never anyone's problem but our own, ever. I don't care what you've been born into. Millions of people have been born into horrific situations and have changed their lives, okay? There are tons of stories out there. Morgan Freeman's one. There's a bunch of them. You choose your life. And what people who don't want help is, what they want to do is play the victim and suck everybody into it, okay? And so that's why I call it the roulette wheel. They're constantly shifting around what the problem is so that you can't fix it for them, because they get so much from having a problem in their life. They control you. I want to stop right there. We have so many people tuning in. Remember, if you called me on Skype right now, you get registered for me to make you dinner. Well, I think I'm going to do brunch. I think that my video of everyone watching me make eggs Benedicts through the roof. So maybe I'll have 3 or 4 people over for brunch. So if you're somebody who's struggling, asking for help, or notice people, or if you want to talk about some other topic, please just call me on Skype right now. It's wide open. We'll talk about whatever you want. I'm happy to help you with anything. So, all right. So getting back to that victimhood, our whole culture rewards being a victim. It pays. It pays massively to be a victim. Now, here's one thing socioeconomically that people don't think about. One of the most broken segments of the population and the least helped are the wealthy. The wealthy are generally how they became wealthy. If it wasn't old money, even old money gets passed down. But what they used was mostly self-hatred and shame to fuel them. It's the plight of the wealthy. Everyone wants to be wealthy, and they don't get what it takes to be wealthy. And what most people use intense self-hatred and self-loathing to motivate themselves to try and fill a gap. But what have we done as a society? We say, if you have money, you have nothing to complain about. Your life is great. And we don't want to hear the problems of celebrities or rich people. I mean, look at the whole political climate. If you make money, you're somehow a vampire and a bad person. It's completely untrue. But we're demonizing people who have money. And people who have money are incredibly broken. And we as a society have set up a dynamic too, where talk about a group who can't, like if you're poor and downtrodden, oh my God, there's every government program, every person out there, charities. There are millions of ways to get help. That's why so many people are poor and downtrodden. It pays to be poor and downtrodden. Many choose it. I'm not saying all. Don't go off the rails here and take my comment as an absolute. But many, many people, more than are born into it and are actually stuck in it, many choose the victimhood of being poor and broke because they want others to help them. Now, the wealthy, because of this dynamic, they feel like they can't ask for help. They have nowhere to turn. They're completely isolated because we've set up as a culture that if you have money, you have everything solved. And secondly, I don't even want to hear you complain because you got everything. That's why, and this is where I think a lot of people miss in something with my book. I brought up this topic in my book. The most broken in society are the wealthiest. And the wealthiest are the ones that set the laws. The segment of the population that needs the most help right now is the wealthiest, not the poorest. We're doing it backwards. I'm not saying don't help poor people. but we need to break down the societal bias against thinking there's something inherently better about wealthy and that they aren't broken. They're massively broken. We've set up a dynamic where if you have something or have money, you're somehow have figured it out. It's not true. Talk about massive, massive pain. That's why so many of them, you find politicians, actors, actresses, wealthy business people, their life's a train wreck, divorces, drug abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all those different, their kids struggling because they have nowhere to turn. And we as a society go, I don't want to even talk about it or hear about it. Yet they run society. We're neglecting the part of society that has the greatest impact on us and think we shouldn't help them or that they don't even need help. Talk about denial. So that's another aspect of, oh, hey, Lisa's calling in. Just a second here. Hey there, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good, Kenny. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. So what is it you wanted to talk about?
Well, I think what I keep hearing everyone say today that I interact with is they have lots and lots of fear.
Okay.
So if we have lots and lots of fear and we can't face who we are, how can that fear be alleviated? So once we face who we are, we're fine.
Okay, let me parse that out a little bit. First of all, so when you're saying, are your friends or the people you hear saying afraid, are they talking fear in general, or are you talking afraid to face parts of themselves specifically? I'm trying to narrow down what you mean by fear, because it will help me decide which way to go with the information I give you.
Well, that's a very good question, Kenny, because people live in the past and they live in fear.
Okay.
And they have this opportunity to walk through that. But 9 times out of 10, there has to be a person that's bigger than that, it appears, for that fear to just kind of be put in the background. So in my own experience, what I've seen is that when someone is they're unable to accept the truth, they would prefer to live in fear.
Okay. So what you're talking about is a mix of two things, denial and fear. And I like one part of what you said too was they need something bigger. Like they need an example of how to overcome it. So I want to make sure I'm hearing exactly what you're saying. What I hear you saying is there's some people who know their life is struggling, but they're afraid to look back at the past and deal with it. And then there's also an aspect of they don't really recognize that they're in fear. Are those the two pieces?
Yes, you're spot on, Kenny. Thank you.
All right. Well, fear in every situation is one of 3 things. If you remember, I talk about this in my book. It's either the fear of rejection, the fear of inadequacy. In other words, I don't have the skills, tools, or knowledge to do something, or the fear of powerlessness. So let's take looking back at the past. Well, what's the fear? Inadequacy, big time. They don't have the skills, tools, or knowledge to know how to look back at their past and reconcile it. That's why I wrote my book, because I haven't seen anybody create a roadmap on how to do that. And I have yet to see anybody, I don't care who it is, I don't care how, quote, successful you are, there isn't a single person I've ever run across to or seen in my life that hasn't found peace without going back and cleaning up your history. And we've been raised on a culture that says, oh, it's in the past, don't deal with it. Don't live in the past. In other words, replay how imperfect you are, but you damn well better go become an expert in your past if you want any sort of success. And even if you're able to achieve things, if you want to enjoy it when you're there, you better clean up the past or you won't. There's just you cannot get there because your past. Remember, I was talking earlier about victimhood and everything. Those who stay poor or want the government or whatever, they're staying in victimhood, and that's all from childhood. It's all their past trauma that they refuse to deal with. So those on the lower socioeconomic scale, the typical victim class that we all try and help, what they need is the skills and tools and knowledge to go back and deal with it. And that's why I wrote the book. But also the wealthy who get the accolades and things and then are miserable, they need it just as much too. So that's the first aspect of fear, is most people stay stuck and in denial because they don't know a pathway out. And that's why I wrote the book and do the greatness movement. It's the pathway out. So that's one aspect, all right, of fear. Now, the rejection aspect is, this is where denial ties into both powerlessness and rejection. Because this is a piece I didn't get to yet as far as why don't we ask for help? Because in childhood, we all went through a level of abuse. It's irrefutable. We developed what I call false personas, or some people would call a false ego. We developed a personality to survive and become what our parents wanted. So now someone like myself, 52 years old, or someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they're sitting there going, wait a minute. What you're telling me is this person that I've been all my life is false. It's not who I am. Because that's what asking help is asking you to do. It's asking you to deal with that person you are in this moment. Well, now I have to admit there's something imperfect about that. Screw you. There's denial. I'm not going to do this. It's not me. It's them. It's government. It's everything and everyone but me. And so this is where that denial aspect of fear comes in of, wait a minute. I don't want to face me. Because remember, we get rewarded by playing the victim and blaming everybody else and having everybody else fix it for us. Well, I'm going to have to give that up. You mean I'm going to have to face that I'm the person rejecting me? That, remember, fear is rejection and powerlessness, that I'm the one making myself powerless by my choices. I'm keeping myself in poverty, or I'm staying wealthy, but I refuse to go to counseling. I refuse to ask for help. I refuse to deal with any of this stuff. And I make myself more and more powerless by the way I drink and do drugs and have affairs and embezzle money and all of this. So that the basis of the fear is those three prongs. Inadequacy, no one's laid out a plan until really my book came along, and the greatness movement. That's really what we're about. This is the pathway out that nobody's talked about. And then the other two pieces are, having to confront that false persona and the denial that's wrapped up in it. And that's what calms the other things down. So does that give you a better sense, or do you have a specific example in mind you'd like to talk about?
No, what you said was perfect, Kenny. I really appreciate it as well, because you actually just took all of that. It's right in your book. I don't remember the page, but it's all right there. And I appreciate that. Thank you. You're
very welcome. I appreciate you calling. Is there anything else you have a question on or want to talk about?
Not tonight.
Okay, well, I'm putting you are in the drawing for the dinner at my house. So
perfect.
Yeah, so if nothing else, you got that.
Perfect.
And I appreciate you calling and asking the question, Lisa. And we'll give it a couple more weeks, see how many other people call in, and we'll let you know if you're coming to dinner. But maybe just keep calling in so you can keep getting added to the list. How about that?
Oh, that's perfect, Kenny. Thank you.
All right, Lisa. Have a great night.
You too, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right, see, that's simple. Just call in and get free food. So that was the next piece I wanted to talk about. And yeah, hi, Nicole. We're talking about your topic, Nicole, actually, why people are afraid to ask for help. I want to tackle some of these comments here. Thank you, Desma, for the compliment. I appreciate that. She likes my advice, so thank you. And Jordana, I appreciate you checking in. Marianne, Brianna, that's right. Yeah, no solution works for somebody who's a victim. They get too much out of it. That's exactly right. And they want a label. Yeah, some do. Yeah, because labels give us power. I'm depressed. I'm bipolar, I'm ADHD, because that's part of the victim stance. I can blame it on this thing outside of me. Oh, I'm just stuck with it. There's nothing I can do. It's all baloney. I mean, there are tons of studies that show, I don't care if you have cancer, whatever, if you deal with the emotions, people have gotten rid of conditions like that. But we want the label because it labels me as a victim. Look, I know it firsthand. As my life was tumbling out of control, I was having huge, dark, depressive periods, just completely freaking out. I went to the Amen Clinic, the foremost place in the world for neurological conditions. They gave me a full mock-up and everything, and basically they loaded me up on drugs. That's all they did. Nothing got better. Drugs don't work. They only work if you believe they work. And I'm not on any of it, and my life's fine. The problem was I was living a life that was, just like I was saying to Lisa here, I was in complete denial. I was making myself powerless with my lifestyle choices. And so it was sending me into massive, massive fear. I'm trying to play pro golf, and I literally have to go to the bathroom about every hole and a half. Like, I mean, like crippling, because I'm in that much fear. I'm in total fight, flight, or freeze. And that's what you do. You empty yourself. You basically pee your pants. That's how much fear I was in. I was doing it to myself because I was rejecting myself and I was making myself powerless with my choices. Like I'll give you one story. I don't know if many of you guys are golfers, but I was playing in the Wyoming Open and I had a 3-foot putt for birdie. Okay. It was, in case you don't know, pardon me, it was a par 3. So I'm going to score a 2 on the hole if I make a putt from this far. That's it. That's all I have to do. Right? Everybody just kind of taps those in. Well, guess what my next shot was? From 20 yards off the green. I flinched. So much fear. I flinched so bad. I hit my ball like about 30 yards. Hit it off the green, rolled down a hill, and now I had like a 20-yard chip shot back up onto the green. That's from living a life that goes against your morals and values, your needs and wants. So people who are depressed and looking for medication, it's not medication, it's the lifestyle you're living. You're doing it to yourself. It's also from your childhood and unresolved trauma issues. So yeah, that's part of the problem. We don't want to deal. We want the label because then I get your sympathy, not empathy, sympathy. Sympathy is extracting power from people. And that's what people who choose labels do. They're extracting power from everybody else. Okay. So that's another big reason we do all this. Now I want to get into also how the brain works. And this, you have to remember our brain does not know right from wrong. It seeks what it knows. So whatever you want through as a kid, you learned an emotional chemical reaction based on that, okay? Your brain and body is addicted to it. That's why you are the person you are today. Remember I talked about, adopting a false self or adapted self. That's what we all get as kids. Mom and dad yell at us. We go, oh, this behavior doesn't work. I'll go become this so mom and dad don't yell at me. Oh, dad disappeared. He's not in the house. He must not love me. Okay, I'll be super nice to mom so that she loves me. So now as an adult, I'm super nice to everybody. I never do anything for myself. And we think, and it's killing us, but we go, well, that's who I am. Remember, if you've read my book, you have to read my book because this is the progression of the cycle that all of you live your life this way. None of you are immune from it. There isn't a single person on this planet who does not live their life this way. This is the human dynamic. I'm not describing something that's just for certain people who've been through a certain thing. It's how everybody lives their life. So if you want to learn why your life is where it is, read my book. You'll know why. And it goes into detail I haven't seen anybody else ever talk about. And that's what the whole greatness movement is about, is to show you how to move through all that. So Anyway, stage 3 of the cycle is the shame piece and the adapted false self we all had to create. And this is part of why we don't ask for help. And even if we ask for help, we don't do it. Remember, I was talking earlier about how many people reach out to me for help, but they don't want it. They just want my attention. They want me to join in their victimhood. So here's the difficult part, Nicole, to answer your question, getting back to why people don't ask for help. All right? Or reject it even if they do. Because we had to adopt a false self, and this goes back to even Lisa's question, the denial aspect. All right? We have to confront that who we are is false. Like I had to confront, I'm not actually an athlete. I played 2 pro sports, but that's not who I am. I did that, as I've talked in other, I'm not going to get back into it. I've talked about it enough in other videos. Look through my other stuff. You'll see why I did it. Read my book. You'll see why I played pro hockey and pro golf. It wasn't who I was. So that's the first thing is everyone's going, wait a minute. If I'm not a real estate agent, if I'm not an engineer, if I'm not sarcastic, if I'm not nice, if I'm not giving, if I'm not a cook, if I'm not all these things that we think we are, if that's not who I am, well, then who the hell am I? Whoa. Remember, our brain seeks what it knows. It doesn't know. It's lost touch with who we really are. That's why it doesn't want help. It doesn't want to go find that because it doesn't know what it is. It's lost its memory of what it is. And so it wants to stay right here with what it knows. So that's the first thing you have to realize, Nicole, as to why people don't ask for help. Oh my God, I'm going to basically have to die. The person I think I am has to go. Wow. I don't know that I want to deal with that. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, here's the second reason people don't ask for help, or even if they do, they don't want it. They may get to the recognition of, okay, I understand what you're saying, Kenny. I understand that I adopted a false self because of my parents. I can see that. I can see ways I changed my behavior to please my parents. That makes sense. But also, Kenny, I can logically say that my parents were less than perfect. Let's assume this is a person who doesn't think their parents were perfect. We're going to take a person who's actually in reality instead of someone who's in fantasy that thinks their parents were perfect and had a great childhood. We're going to pick someone who's in reality to make this as easy as possible. And they go, okay, I can see my parents were less than perfect. And let's even make it even easier. They were abusive. Let's say they were physically and sexually abusive. We can logically go, yeah, I should drop these beliefs because look who I got them from, right? But here's the thing. Because our life depends on them and that bond is so strong, the reason people don't want help, don't seek help, don't do the work once they ask for help is they will not only have to give up the false persona they created to survive that childhood and that abuse, they will have to give up the connection they have to their parents. They may not even see their parents, but that's what I talk about in my book. This is where the fear of success comes from. Subconsciously, people go, wait a minute. If I go back and clean up, if I reconcile this trauma and this abuse and all this stuff, if I actually move past my false self and my parents, now I'm completely alone in the world. Do you see how that works? Yes, I can say I felt alone growing up, but there's still this dysfunctional connection. At least it's something. At least I'm still connected to them. But if I were to actually succeed and get past that, then I've got nothing. That's what I wrote about in my book. I show you that process, how to do that, and that's a fallacy. That actually, once you do that, for the first time in your life, you make a real connection possible with your parents. I don't care how abusive they were. And my parents were abusive in their own ways. And that's why I wrote the book, is because this is all false. But nobody's told us that. Nobody's shown us that. No one's given us the way out. And our brain seeks what we know. Nobody knows this information. Nobody knows how miserable they are. Nobody knows how to get out of it. And that's why I do what I do, is to enlighten people. Oh my God, what he's saying makes sense. And if I actually do the work, I get relief from this pain I live day to day. I learned that this projected pain is false. It's not true. That actually pure happiness is right there. I'm literally that far away from it. For those of you listening on radio, I mean, my fingers are almost together. We're that close to pure freedom and pure success, not monetarily. What I mean is, regardless if you have money or none, you're perfectly okay with yourself. We are that close to our greatness. That's what I call it. But nobody's shown us how. Well, that's what I coach on. That's what my book's about. That's what the greatness movement is about. And you know, the next speech, for those of you, I mean, so many people are struggling with the relationships. And so my next event is September 13th. If you're struggling with relationships, come find an answer. You won't get anywhere else. Just go to Eventbrite if you're here in Phoenix and type in the greatness movement. All the details come up. It's Thursday night the 13th at 6:30 p.m. So make sure you sign up for that. But that's the essence, Nicole, of why people won't get help. Because they're gonna have to let go of the false persona they've carried all their lives, just like I did. My book walks you through all of my false personas and shows you how all of my clients, it's every single person on this earth. Everybody. I'm sorry, I can look at Facebook profiles. Like I have clients who bring in pictures and the people they're thinking of dating. And I'm like, well, this is what his childhood was like. This is, if that's what you want, that's what you're gonna get. Like, it's painfully obvious. And my clients who've done the work, they're like, oh my God, I get your point. They now that they have the information, they can walk in a room and have the exact same experience. It's so obvious when you do the work. So again, the biggest reasons I've said earlier, to recap, you know, some of the reasons we don't get help is because of parenting, the way we were raised. We were trained not to ask for help. Another thing is society. We heavily reward the victim in our society. They get everything they want, and so that's why we don't really want help, because we get so much attention from having our lives be a mess, and so we stay stuck. All right. Now, we touched on with Lisa how fear plays into that. Really, that's a fear of inadequacy, because no one's given us the skills, tools, or knowledge to learn how to ask for help or actually use the help. We stay in fear and we don't ask for it because we're afraid of being vulnerable. And that's where we dip into what I just talked about with the shame piece, which I talk about in my book. One, we don't want to give up our false persona. Two, we don't want to lose the false connection we have to our parents. And yes, it's false. Neither side is genuine, because neither side knows how. And that's why when you turn towards it, you actually create one. And I describe that in my book, how to do that. And then what follows all of that is denial. And that's the single greatest killer in society. Everybody's in massive, massive denial. We don't want to see who we are. We don't want to see how broken we are, because there's a stigma. Remember, we get so much out of being depressed and ADD, ADHD, pick your poison. We get so much from our problems. We don't want to admit we're the problem. And so we don't go back and look at those issues. And that's ultimately what's keeping everybody miserable and stuck. We just have a few more minutes. Is there anyone else who'd like to call me real quick and talk about some topic before I end the show and get registered for dinner? Well, actually, I may do brunch at my house. We have 2 people who are registered so far. Anybody else want to call in and talk about something that interests them? If not, I'm going to wrap up the show. If you would like to call in, it's really simple. Just call me on Skype, and we can chat about anything you like. But The last thing I want to touch on is if you love somebody in your life right now, a friend, coworker, I don't care who it is, and they keep coming to you with their problems, yet they don't hire a coach, a therapist, buy a book, go to seminars, any of that. If they're not willing to do the work, then I beg you to love them enough to stop listening to them. Stop. You are not being kind to them. You're not being kind to yourself. It is disingenuous and it is not loving to sit in front of somebody who is unwilling to do the work to get themselves better. I got approached this week by someone I know very well. There's someone I know very well who's hurting. And they reached out to me once, said they wanted to set an appointment, and never followed through on it. I never called them. I never checked in. See, I knew that's what they wanted. I knew they wanted me to follow up and go, "Are you coming?" But I know their game, and I'm going to love them. And I had 6 people that are friends of this person who have gotten in touch with me asking me if I could reach out and help this person. And I went, no, because it's not help. Because do you see what this person has done? Like by the time I got to the last one, I said, do you see what this person has done? You're the 6th person that's reached out to me. They haven't. That tells me this person doesn't want help because they're getting so much power from all of you. You guys care more about the problem than they do. Why would they ever want to fix it? Because they have you who's more concerned about it than them. The most loving thing I told this person, I said, if you really care, the most loving thing you could do is if they bring up the struggles in their life again, you just go, look, I really care about you. Is there something else you'd like to talk about? I'd be happy to talk about it. But this topic, I'm done with. And no matter what, you don't care? You know what? I care so much about you. I'm happy to talk about anything but this. Wow, what's up your you know what? Well, I love you so much. I'm willing to talk about anything but this topic. You just repeat it like a mantra. You don't budge. You don't get sucked in. That's something I have to do all throughout the day because, like I said, people reach out to me all the time. They don't want to hire me. They want my attention for free, and they don't want the solutions either. They just want to talk about it, and they want to co-opt me into it. And so I'm very kind about it, but I won't join it. I won't give them solutions. I won't be another person who's supporting their victimhood and who is unloving to them. I refuse to mistreat people like that. I used to do it. I used to be one of those people that would chase somebody around and try and fix it for them. Oh, aren't I kind and loving? Bullshit. It's manipulative and it's self-serving. I'm just doing it for me, to feel good about me. Don't I care so much? No, if you actually cared, you'd stop listening. Because if the person actually wanted help, if they actually wanted to do something with their life, they would, I don't care if you hire me, they'd hire somebody. They'd get help. That's, if someone does that, sit and listen to them. Make that your line in the sand. Look, when you go get help, I will grab your hand and I'll be there with you. But until then, let's talk about something else. I love you and care about you. So for those of you who are struggling with this, people who don't want help, the best way to help them is to stop trying to help them. Let them suffer. That's the only way they'll get there, is if you care. You have to stop caring more about the problem than they do. And once they care enough, they'll get help. All righty? So I think we will wrap it up with that. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. As always, I love helping out in any way I can. And remember, like I always say, how judgment and criticism and blame works, with politics and everything. Everybody's quick to judge and blame and point the finger at people. And they forget both Republicans and Democrats. They're not talking about the other side. They're not talking about Trump or Clinton. They're talking about themselves. That's how judgment and criticism works. You're never talking about the other person in a fight or politics or anything. You're always talking about yourself. But the positive side of that is when you see greatness in other people, you're also seeing greatness in yourself. All right. It goes both ways. It's still a judgment. So make sure, and that's what a lot of people struggle letting in, is how great they are. And if that's something you're struggling with, if when I just said that and you're like, you can't accept that, then I recommend you talk to someone like myself or some other coach, or you buy my book or the books I suggest in my book. But it's truth. And if you can't accept that, how great you are, then I recommend you check out one of my greatness groups, my book, Tony Robbins. There's so many great people out there, but that is who you are. So learn to accept that. It's what we all need. So at any rate, I thank you all for watching. If you'd like more information on what I do, you can always go to my website, www.coachkennyweiss.com. If you'd like to set an appointment, you can always call me, 480-729-3270. If you're looking for more information, go to my YouTube channel. Just type in Kenny Weiss. I have over 140 videos. So pardon me, lots of free information. If you want to spend a little bit of money, then buy my book, Your Journey to Success. You can find that on Amazon in all the different formats. If you want to spend a little bit more money and work in a group environment, then you can join one of my greatness groups. I'm taking reservations right now for the next one. And right now it's only $79 a month. That's it. We meet once a month in my office. Group size is 8 to 10 people. And you set up a private Facebook group where I go in there and we talk amongst ourselves, and you get kind of private coaching and help through that. And just so you know, there's the event coming September 13th. The price is going to go up to $129 after that. So if it's something you've been thinking about, I recommend just send me a private message. Let me know you'd like to get started with a group, and we'll get you in there before the price goes up. So at any rate, that's the last thing. If you would like to learn more about your greatness, about the greatness movement, about relationships, and how, even if you're in one, how to have a better one, or if you're looking for one and want to know what to look for, or if you keep picking the wrong person, anything relationship oriented, I recommend you come to the next greatness event, which is September 13th. That's a Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Go to eventbrite.com and just type in the greatness movement. All the details are there. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful night. Thank you. I'm going to rattle off here: Nicole, Marianne, Lisa, Brianna, Cheryl, Desma, Barbara, Jordana, Janice. Oh, I didn't see you sneak in there. Linda, Patty, Paul, Katrina, Julie, Laura, Blair. Those are all the names I could see. I hope I didn't miss your name. Thank you so much for tuning in, and everybody else who didn't say hello. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Send me topics for what you want me to talk about next. Have a great night, everybody.
I can do anything. I can reach any goal today. I can do what I want. I can be what I want to be.
Coach on Fire Radio.